Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Happy Friday. We're glad and thankful to have you here. For our regulars, looks like you're already excited because you know what's coming. Freedom Family Friday means the lovely Stephanie Peterson in studio. What's up, Steffi?
Hi. So happy to be here. Feeling great.
So glad to have you here, Stephanie. Looking great. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling wonderful. We had our appointment yesterday, 32 weeks, and we got to see Hazel. A nice 3D image of her. You can see it on social media and Twitter.
You can actually see it on the screen right now. I got it pulled up. There it is.
She's real.
Yeah.
And she's 4 pounds and 13 ounces. She's in the 70th percentile, so she's ahead of the other children. That's just how she's going to be, you guys. She's just going to be ahead forever in her life.
There we go. Well, they can't see us because I hadn't turned on the video, but there it is. You know, this...
See me?
I'm still getting used to Rumble video, but...
You can see her?
No, they couldn't see anything.
Oh. Oops.
So now they can't see everything. Hey, guys.
Now you can see Hazel and us.
I'm still just learning how to use the Rumble Studio software, so that's why sometimes, you know, I make little mistakes.
At least they could hear us.
They could hear us. They couldn't see us.
Yeah.
Now they can hear
like
us.
A radio show for 2.7 seconds.
Right. They can hear us. They can see us. Now they can hear us. They can see us, and they can see baby Hazel there.
Yes. So my doctor says she really thinks I'm gonna go up to the due date, even possibly past it. She's like, "Yep, you're gonna keep going."
But baby Hazel is big. She's real big.
Yeah, 4 pounds, 13 ounces. Most babies around this time are still in the, I think 3.75 pounds range. So usually they're still in the threes.
We didn't even know that this technology existed when they suddenly popped up the picture of baby Hazel's face in 3D and in color.
Yeah, I seriously thought you had to pay extra for this. I thought this was like a special baby photography studio where they print out photos like that.
If they have time, that they'll do it. And they did. They had time. They weren't busy. They showed us that beautiful picture of our child, and then they sent us home with them. And she looks healthy, happy, you know, just fantastic. Not only is she healthy, she's beautiful.
And her head is down. So she is in the down position. That is the place to be.
Downward facing dog. And she's peeking out, and she has her father's beautiful nose. Yes, she does.
I saw you pictures of me as a baby yesterday. I'm like, her nose does look like me, I swear. Because she's got the little dimples in her nose like I had as a baby.
Yes.
You know, it's like when you're a baby, your nose looks so underdeveloped. And then once you become an adult, then it looks so different. So it's so hard to know.
Er's mommy said that she had a 13-pound baby. So at 8 months, he was already like 9.8 pounds. Yeah, I was an 11-pound baby, so pretty big. Yeah, so cute little baby.
I can't imagine Er's mommy pushed that out of
maybe
herself.
A C-section. We don't know. But
yeah.
Anyways,
boy.
We got to talk about the news. That's the happy news. Sad news is that the government appears that it will be liquidating the assets of Alex Jones, and Infowars will be shut down 1 week from now.
That really saddened me. It really put a gray cloud over my morning. Not
Alex
gonna
Jones
lie.
has had a massive impact, especially for like Ron Paul types like us, because I remember in 2007 when I was working at a computer firm in New York City. And I was really getting into Ron Paul. Well, Alex Jones was the only person who would interview Ron Paul when he was his first presidential run.
Okay.
The Ron Paul revolution hadn't even begun yet. And the only, I remember I would specifically tune in to Alex Jones's radio show in the afternoons while I was doing phone calls for my work, and I would have my phone in one ear and I would have Alex Jones in the other ear so that I could hear Ron Paul. And I think he would have him on pretty much every day.
Wow.
And that was back when, and maybe he still does, but I haven't watched it lately. But he would always have the Conan the Barbarian soundtrack on that would come on, so you knew that Alex Jones was coming. It was like dun dun dun. Dun, 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 bah, 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 and then it's Alex Jones is coming. Oh yeah, it was.
Spectacle. I mean, I think Alex Jones made me crazy.
Yeah.
In 2009, 2010,
a little crazy.
He convinced me about the fluoride in the water, and ever since then, I still buy bottled water for the most part. Now I've gone back to tap water. Thankfully, I'm no longer brainwashed so much.
Right.
And I didn't use fluoride in my toothpaste. I used to yell at my dentist. I'd be like, I don't want a fluoride treatment.
Yeah.
Florida's bad for you. It causes cancer.
Yeah. And the thing is that like there's crossover between like our fans and like Infowars people, but we're not like really Infowars people, right? Like I'm
Not anymore. I used to be.
I'm not super big into like conspiracy stuff, but I think that what the government is doing to him is a travesty, and I think that it's what they have done to Alex Jones. The government experiments on people like Alex Jones who are on the fringes.
Yeah.
And what they do to him that they want to do to everybody else. I mean, have you seen the news about what's happening to the former Trump advisor Steve Bannon?
No.
They're putting him in jail too. They're coming after him. And look what they're doing to Donald Trump.
Steve Bannon actually spoke up about Alex Jones, and he said, Alex, basically make a fort around your building and say nobody can get in, like a patriot.
So Alex Jones was ordered to pay $1.5 billion to the families of Sandy Hook victims. He's asked a judge to convert his personal bankruptcy into a Chapter 7 liquidation. That was
his choice.
Yes. Yeah.
He could have kept it.
Well, he couldn't make his monthly payments.
Right.
So he couldn't he needed to do something because his bill was getting bigger and bigger.
So they blocked him in, really.
Yeah.
It sounds like his hands were tied. He had no choice but to liquidate.
Exactly. So we are going to talk about this a lot this morning. I want to make sure that we do introduce what the rest of the show will be about, because there will be some other topics as well this morning. At 7:30 this morning, we have a special guest. The Libertarian Party's vice presidential candidate, Mike Termott, will be joining us today on the show. So that should be a good one.
Celebrity. That's cool.
And we'll ask him what he thinks about what the government is doing to Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Get his take on that, as well as how the campaign is going. They've been going now for a couple of weeks. Also want to ask him what he thought about Donald Trump's offer. And some of the more controversial questions, like, what does he think about what, Angela McArdle is doing, for example, as the head of the LP, which should be fascinating. You were interested to hear that Angela's going to have a regular guest spot on the show now, right? So
really happy she wants to do that. That's so cool. I really like her. I think she's fun. She's like the mama of the LP. She treats everybody nicely and she stays really calm. They need that.
Yes, she's very smart. She's a lawyer, and she's a smart cookie. So she's going to be joining us regularly throughout the rest of the campaign season. So not next week, but the week after, on Tuesdays at 8:30 a.m., the Libertarian Party's national chair will be joining us on a weekly basis to update us with what's going on with third-party politics. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah. So again, we'll hear from the Libertarian Party's vice presidential candidate today, Mike Termott, at 7:30. We'll get his reaction to that and more. At 8 a.m., it is Freedom Family Friday, which means Justin J. Peterson.
Everybody's favorite.
Justin Jurgen, my Jurgen. Justin Jurgen. Justin Jorgen. We call him Jorgen, but it's Jurgen. Justin will be joining us at 8 a.m. Central, my brother from Boston. I want to hear from him on the Alex Jones stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever watched Alex Jones.
Probably not.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, my brother just kind of lives in a different world. He's come from a different world. Like he's like, he's one of those people who was like center left for a number of years, and by standing still and not changing at all, he has now become a right winger, because the left has moved so far to the left that he's now like crossed the line.
Right.
By not changing his opinions on anything at all. He's now a Republican right winger.
He really hasn't changed much.
Not much. I mean, there are some things. I won't lie. My brother has kind of like been red-pilled in the last few years because of what happened during the pandemic, which was a big moment for a lot of people. A lot of people got red-pilled during the pandemic. But it has been fascinating because I kind of came into the libertarian movement as, with listening to Alex Jones and Ron Paul, and I became sort of like I'll just say it, I was a Ron Paul tard, right?
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah, we were all Paul
spewing
tards.
out in the Fed. Yes. I would like drive in my car putting Ron Paul mailings into mailboxes even though it was illegal.
I'm gonna be honest, there's gonna be some curse words on the show today, just FYI, especially when I play Alex Jones clips here in just a few minutes, but I'm going to say that like I did some weird shit trying to support Ron Paul.
Yeah, we all did. Yeah, we were desperate.
Yeah. I remember when we launched the blimp. I remember the Ron Paul blimp, and it was like, but we raised all this money to.
It was probably a little before my time because I got into it more for 2012.
Okay, so it was 2008. So
okay, yeah, I wasn't there yet.
We raised a stupid amount of money, which we should have used on like things like getting out the vote. we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We raised a bunch of money to put Ron Paul Revolution on the side of a blimp, and we flew it up and down the East Coast, and it was just.
Do you think he saw it?
I mean, sure, but I mean, I remember because I didn't know anything about politics at that point. I mean, I didn't know anything about basic politics. I understood, policy, but I didn't know how to like win elections.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like 26 years old at this point. I'm 43 now.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, we're gonna fly this blimp up and down the East Coast and say Ron Paul Revolution, and everybody's gonna like get excited for Ron Paul.
It's like a giant yard sign. Like, that's effective, right?
Just think about all the people who didn't even like look up and like didn't even see it, and we raised, it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if we were smart, we would have taken that money. And I remember the Ron Paul campaign people like Kent Snyder and other, rest in peace, he passed away. But Kent Snyder and like Jesse Bennett and so many others were like, you should donate this money to the campaign, all right? Which some of us we had maxed out and stuff. So, but anyways, without Alex Jones, a lot of us would not have been able to get access to Ron Paul and learn more about him.
Absolutely. So. And the vaccines too. I'll never forget Alex Jones's video. It was like him in a clown costume. And then there were these like sexy nurses outside of a CVS.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they were harassing people to not get the vaccine because it causes cancer. And they were telling them all the side effects.
Right.
That one got me too.
Yes. Oh, Liberty Shindig is in the chat. What's up, Shindig?
Hi.
He said, didn't one side of it say, who is Ron Paul? Maybe it was Google Ron Paul. That was a big deal back in the day. We were like, Google Ron Paul.
It was very new.
Yeah, when we all liked big tech. Remember, like before we all hated them, before Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin and everybody in Silicon Valley.
Facebook.
Oh yeah. Well, before they turned on us, right? There was a time, but it was like sometime between 2008 and 2012. When big tech turned on us, especially us libertarians, and started shutting us down and censoring us and silencing us. And, people like Alex Jones were kicked off of the platform, and people like myself, like I have the Libertarian Republic, my blog, which I started in like 2010 or something. I was making $15,000 a month blogging. And that because of Facebook, and then Facebook just goes, they turned it off. And it was because like Time Magazine and all these major publishers were losing their shirts. So they went to Facebook and were like, yo, we're going to do a deal and you're only going to make sure that our stuff gets seen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a big, big loss. So I had to like start my business all over again. We're going to talk about the Alex Jones stuff. I've got a clip here this morning. This is from Alex Jones, breaking the news.
At the end of the day, we're going to beat these people. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it's been a hard fight.
He's losing his house.
People hate our children.
He's losing his property, his ranch in Texas.
Just take more calls. Go ahead, do the next person. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now, what did he say at the end? Was he speaking Latin?
I couldn't understand.
It sounded like he was almost praying.
I've been gaslit. I've had secret federal filings follow me that I'm committing crimes, referred to the Justice Department, which of course wasn't true. We'd already filed it in federal court months before. They didn't even check this shit. If you're gonna fucking flame
beware, there's gonna be a lot of language here. Alex Jones is gonna curse a lot. So if you have kids listening to the show, just maybe turn the sound down, maybe put on a headset.
Somebody and fucking lie about them to goddamn federal court with the fucking notes already filed the goddamn court, you bastard. So fuck you. And fuck anybody else that tries to go on your shit. You want fucking war, you fucking got it. I told you one more fucking lie, and I was going to do this, all right? I tried to sustain this place. I didn't believe America was as corrupt as this. I didn't believe we were this fucked, and we are this fucked. This country is administratively got a bunch of scum in charge of it. That's.
So let's talk about this, all right? So, you should have free speech in this country, and you should be able to say what you want to say.
Within so many deniers,
but here's
for so many events like 9/11.
But one of the things we were talking about this morning here is the question of like what constitutes defamation, right? And so, for example, if let's say that you and I, we've got our merchandise shop.
Yeah.
If somebody with a big platform like Alex Jones, right, or let's pin this on somebody that we hate, some leftist, let's say MSNBC. Says Austin Peterson is a liar and a fraud, and he will take your money. If you spend money in his shop, he will take your money and he won't send you a t-shirt. So they're lying about us. Okay. That is the kind of thing that we can sue and you can't do something like that and actually cause harm to my business, right? And lie about me. I may not be able to send you to jail, but I should be able to go to court and say, hey, he's telling people that I'm not fulfilling my obligations in my business. You know, you should be able to go sue them in civil court for something like that, right?
Right, because that's defamation. Now, if a normal Joe on Twitter was like, Austin Peterson doesn't fill his T-shirt orders, like, would you really sue them?
No, but it's
their
not the
impact
same.
isn't that great.
It's not the same as NBC.
Right.
If MSNBC comes out and says Austin doesn't fulfill his business obligations that he says he does, calls you a liar, and then your business gets destroyed, yeah, you should be able to go seek a redress of grievances in civil court for something like that. Now, what are we talking about here with Alex Jones? He has apologized.
Yeah, he has.
What he says.
And he claims he was in a moment of psychosis.
Yes. And you know,
which I don't believe that.
Right. And like, you know, this was a long time ago. My dad just reminded me of it, but it was like 10 or 15 years ago. Alex Jones and I beefed a little bit.
Well, we called you Leif Beaverson.
Yeah, he was kind of making fun of me, right? But it wasn't like really mean-spirited or hateful. He was just kind of like saying this, he was saying this Leif Garrett lookalike. He looks like Justin Bieber or something. Yeah. That was back when I was young and beautiful.
It's a compliment.
I mean, it is. At the time, it was because I was debunking vaccine conspiracy. Like I would do official debates.
You did one at PorcFest.
I did one at PorcFest, right, where I debunked the chemtrail conspiracy.
Oh yes.
And 9/11.
I believed in the chemtrails too.
I know. It's like so did the people at the Republican convention that I was at recently.
They sure did. Yeah. I was shocked even. I was like, what?
Right.
People are bringing crazy back.
Yes. So I mean, like I've always been a skeptic, and so like that's why I've never been like I love conspiracy theories because I actually love to like find out what the truth is. And like I like to find out why people believe in conspiracy theories. So like for example, JFK is a good example of one where people like obsess over it, and I've always been fascinated by it. But the thing is what people I think really don't appreciate, they don't like, is that the truth is often quite boring.
Yeah, it's like the 9/11 building number 7.
Right, which isn't to say exactly building 7 is a perfect example of like the truth is actually quite boring. But like which isn't to say that things like Jeffrey Epstein and sex trafficking conspiracies involving like global elites, things like that don't happen. They absolutely do.
Secret meetings happen. I believe they do.
Sure. And like, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, weird gay stuff that goes on at Bohemian Grove, and like presidents and elites go to these kinds of things, right? But but things like you have to be able to tell the difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory. And so the problem that Alex Jones ran into is that he'd caused harm to the people that he lied about and said that their children didn't really die.
Right.
And they were crisis actors. Did he cause $1.5 billion worth of harm? No, he didn't destroy their lives. He wasn't the shooter. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to put a valuation on mental health,
mental anguish.
You know, it's like, okay, like how much is getting depression really worth in terms of money? Well, to pay for their therapy bills, to pay for their medicine.
$1.5 billion. It's not $1.5 billion.
Right.
That's for sure. It's not completely destroy your ability to earn a living or, you know, have your livelihood, especially because he did apologize. He said he was wrong. He said that, you know, this is his show, is his entertainment, right? And so if he had to do something that would be reasonable, because what this shows is that the government is punishing him. The government wants to shut him down and silence him.
Yeah.
They don't want him to be able to broadcast some of the other things that he says that people might want to hear.
Like the fluoride in the water and the vaccines. I could see Big Pharma being like, shut that man down.
No, Stephanie, they don't want him platforming people like Ron Paul, right? They don't want him. That's what it is. They don't want him platforming things like, you know, that make the government uncomfortable. They don't want him platforming January 6ers. They don't like Steve Bannon. They're going to send Steve Bannon to jail because of his defiance of a subpoena to appear. And so he's supposed to report to jail.
Appear when you're subpoenaed. I know that.
But here's the thing. It's like they're jailing the Department of Justice and the New York attorneys, Alvin Bragg. These people, they're jailing their political opponents.
Yeah.
Right. They're jailing Donald Trump. They're jailing Steve Bannon. They're jailing Alex Jones because these people act in defiance of the $1.5 billion isn't about a redress of grievances from the people of Sandy Hook, who I think deserved some compensation for what Alex Jones said and did to them and the harm that he did to them, which he apologized for and admitted that he was wrong.
Right. Some sort of reparation.
Yeah. Maybe $100,000 like a person. But I mean, they're punishing him like he was a shooter. Like, here's the thing. O.J. Simpson murdered his wife and boyfriend.
Right.
Okay.
What did he have to do?
He had a lot less than Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Alex Jones didn't kill anybody.
No.
O.J. Simpson did.
Alex Jones mentally messed people up, apparently, but he's not the
same
only
thing.
one that's talking about conspiracy theories
Right.
with school shootings.
Well,
People
yes.
have been doing that for years and years, ever since Columbine.
Well, and here's the thing, and this is kind of it's a warning to them. It is a warning to them, to those people out there about what they say. I mean, even major news organizations, they do get sued all the time when they get something wrong, and sometimes they issue corrections and sometimes they don't. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, Stephanie. I've worked in the mainstream media, I've worked in the alternative media, and I'll tell you, whether it's mainstream media or alternative media, this is a dirty business.
It really is.
This is a very.
It makes me want to get out of it even more because I'm just like, this is scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to end up in jail, end up in trouble. I mean, any little wrongdoing you do in a business, I mean, people will notice. They really will. Even little things that I do in your business, like, people notice.
There's always like blood-sucking lawyers. There's always blood-sucking lawyers who want to try and destroy you. They want to destroy you just to make money.
Right.
Right. So I mean,
it's all about the money. Again, the $1.5 billion. Come on. That's about money.
It's the blood-sucking lawyers, right?
Absolutely.
It's the blood-sucking lawyers. So when it comes to Alex Jones, the $1.5 billion, that is not about redress of grievances, right? That is not what it is about. Alex Jones didn't kill anyone. O.J. Simpson did. If Alex Jones was one of the shooters, or for whatever reason, got out of jail for whatever reason, or got acquitted, and then was sued in civil court, then everybody knew he was actually the Newtown shooter, then, nobody would feel bad about $1.5 billion. People like you and we wouldn't be defending him.
Oh, no, murder is wrong. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, free speech is just more of a blurry area, especially because, like I said, there's so many deniers for everything. There's Holocaust deniers.
Mm-hmm.
Are they paying reparations to the Holocaust families, the victims?
Right.
No.
No, but eventually they're going to come for him. Eventually they're going to come for him. All right, we got to get going because Mike Tremont's coming up here in just a few minutes. I do want to say thank you to Courtney Conover. She donated a couple of bucks. Thank you. We do have a mini documentary. There's so much to go over. And so much
telling me about it. I had never heard of this thing before.
There's so much to go over today that we haven't had time to introduce everything. This show is going to fly by today. So if you want to see today's mini documentary instead of the commercials that we're going to have to go to now, get those Rumble Rant donations in or go to ap4libertyshop.com, make a purchase, possibly a couple of boxes of coffee or maybe a cool t-shirt while you're there. We do sell these awesome Don't Tread on Me shirts as well at ap4libertyshop.com. And if we raise at least $60 by the end of the show today, you'll be able to watch today's mini documentary about a political concept that changed the world. Courtney donated $2, said conspiracy theories are exciting. The truth is usually not only boring, but they're somewhere in the middle. Truth upsets both sides. Very true, Courtney.
Yeah, the truth is so mid.
I know. She's my favorite new person in there. She's so
same here.
Yeah. All right. So we got to go because Mike Tremont, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate, is going to come on. He's going to respond to the Alex Jones stuff. We'll ask him how the campaign's going. We'll talk to him about the LP strategy and all that fun stuff when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Expansive time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at Wake Up America Show. Fridays are a special day. We call it Freedom Family Fridays, which means I bring my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie Peterson, onto the show. What's up, Steffi?
Hello.
Yeah, we're going to hear from another Peterson here in about 30 minutes. Justin Peterson will be joining us at 8 a.m. Central Time. He's going to react to the interview of my next guest, the newly minted Libertarian Vice Presidential Candidate. He's a former police officer, now police reform activist. His name is Mike Termont, and he's joining us live from Virginia. Good morning, Mike. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be with you and with you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for joining us. So I'd love to get your take and reaction to the big news story today, which is that Alex Jones, Infowars host, will have his assets liquidated, have everything taken from him. The feds will be shutting down his operation in order to collect on a $1.5 billion judgment against him for comments that he made regarding the shootings at Sandy Hook. What's your take on that, sir?
I think the federal government is overreached where it should be. I don't have a problem with civil court playing a role where people believe that they have been defrauded, if they have been defamed. I think that civil courts actually in the United States have not done as robust a job as they probably could. And I think that the problem with civil courts not doing as good a job as they should in many cases is you get these goofy situations where governments step in and try to impose government force in ways that we don't need. I think that the federal government, by the way, state governments in all too many cases as well, have played far, far too large a role in trying to decide who it is and who it is not, who should be allowed to speak. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at you, Austin, right now, and I worry about the future of a government coming after somebody like you.
For sure. We were talking about this earlier, is that what they'll do to Alex Jones, what they'll do to Donald Trump, they'll do to us. Now, I know you're running against Donald Trump for president of the United States, but I'd love to hear your take on what the government's doing to him in New York.
I think it's a real shame. I don't think there's any question. I reject any debate at this point whether or not our criminal justice system has been politicized. There's no question about that. The big issue is, what are we going to do about it? Whether this is going to propagate into the future, as I believe it is likely to do so, both from Democrats and Republicans. There is undoubtedly going to be backlash. A lot is yet to play out, in my view, Austin. I'm curious how these cases are going to go against Trump. I have to admit, never bet on anything Mike Tremont says about what the future lay regarding jury settlements. I did not expect Trump to be found guilty on those 34 counts. That took me by surprise, and I'm quite disappointed. And you're right, don't get me wrong. There's no love lost. I have a long history of viewing Donald Trump as a goofball. I was in New York in the 80s, so I know quite well that this is a guy that you don't want to be caught protecting for a lot of reasons, but he has been served poorly by our justice system.
I mean, you're a former police officer, so not many people have seen the corruption of our system of justice up close as much as you have, right, Mike?
Well, there are corrupt elements. In large part, it is a system made up of humans, who are trying to do the right thing. There's no question about that. But is it possible for bad actors, for politically motivated people, or people who are motivated by all kinds of other weird things, people trying to get rich off the system? Is it possible to be corrupted? Absolutely. And you see that playing out.
Now, Mike, Donald Trump appeared at the convention where you were nominated for vice president as a member of the Libertarian Party. What was your take on what Donald Trump had to offer to you?
It was a bit of a disappointment. I think that we were all prepared for him to say, a couple of things trying to win us over to his side, or at least get a positive soundbite. That was no surprise. What I found a couple of things interesting. First of all, by the way, it's a great pleasure to meet, at least telephonically, your wife, Stephanie. My wife, Nancy, was with me at that event. And Nancy was the first one to say, "This feels creepy. This feels weird. I'm not sure we should be here."
Wow.
And we left. I'm not one of these guys that makes my wife sit through a program she's uncomfortable with, right? And a lot of people thought that
I'm confused, Mike. You were uncomfortable because Donald Trump was offering potentially you a spot in his cabinet?
No, he did not offer me a spot in his cabinet. He didn't offer. I've never even had an interaction with.
Would you refuse?
Trump.
Would you refuse?
Would I refuse? No, I would not refuse. I think that any opportunity to bring libertarianism to any government structure would be a good idea. I don't think that that's very likely. Do you?
Yes, I do, actually. As a matter of fact, from what I understand and the people that I have around Donald Trump, I think it's very likely that someone like yourself could be on a short list to sit on a parole board, especially considering your background as a police officer. I think I've actually heard your name be bandied about. When we're talking about pardoning people like Ross Ulbricht and Edward Snowden and many others, I think that a Mike Termott sitting on a board like that would be a damn good idea, don't you?
I think it's a damn good idea, too. I don't see it as terribly likely, but I would support the idea, and Julian Assange as well. I think the government has gotten itself into a weird position of running down those among us who are the greatest stalwarts for the First Amendment. I think this is a major stepping stone toward the propagation of authoritarianism and the corruption of our government in the United States. And the beginning of the end.
It sounds like you're not as hostile to Donald Trump as many of the others within the Libertarian Party?
I'm a little bit hostile in the sense that I think he's personally a corrupt character. I think he has some libertarian instincts, right? He's anti-establishment. He looks at a lot of government established structures and views them as I do as very, very weird. And so we have some overlapping views in that sense. I wish he were a pro-market guy. I wish he were pro-free market. I wish he would do more to bring the troops home and close bases. I did appreciate some of the efforts he made in the Middle East to advance peace and bring folks together in a negotiated way that other administrations had not in the past. So I don't mean the guy is completely worthless. I just think that he's not the answer to our government problem.
Is he better than Biden?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. It's a weird choice, but you know, you're not setting the bar too high there this morning, Austin, saying better than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a walking manifestation of the state.
Mike Termott, I'm telling you that libertarians have got, speaking of a low bar, libertarians have gotten nothing. We have got nothing for decades. We got a tiny little tax cut with George W. Bush. We got a tiny little tax cut with Ronald Reagan. And before that, the libertarians had nothing until we go back all the way to the 1920s and Calvin Coolidge. It was a long, dark march of progressivism, great societies, Vietnam Wars, and the expansion, the massive expansion of government into our lives. So when it came to what Donald Trump had done in making a very large tax cut that truly impacted the lives of people, and in the simple fact that libertarians and Donald Trump have the same enemies, I can tell you this, that it's the reason why people like myself who have identified with the Libertarian Party in the past find myself making cause with Donald Trump, because you, me, Donald Trump, we all have the same enemies, do we not?
In many cases, that is exactly right. I appreciate where you're coming from. I'm not trying to run down your politics. Only Donald Trump, himself as a character. Look, I appreciate the fact that there was a significant tax cut. That's important, but even more important is limiting the extent to which the government is able to spend money. It is true that taxation is theft, but I think that we all need to recognize that all government spending is theft, whether it's financed by tax or by raising debt or by inflation. And so I'm skeptical of tax cuts that are not accompanied by true cap on government spending, because it just gets financed some other way that'll turn out to be taxation in the future.
You make a good point there, Mike. And I know certainly criminal justice reform being one of your major issues, you must have liked that Donald Trump passed the First Step Act, despite the fact that many Republicans, including his own MAGA base and conservative Republicans like Ron DeSantis, who ran against him on that issue, Donald Trump stood up to the conservative base and stood up for a libertarian issue and passed the First Step Act. He passed criminal justice reform. I'm sure that's something that you probably agree that was a good idea.
Damned right. And I think that there's other important steps that we can make as well. I think that we need to end the war on drugs completely. And I believe that there are important specific things that we can do to better hold our law enforcement agencies and officers accountable and move police culture in a little bit quicker fashion in the right direction. Moving any culture takes a long time, of course, and law enforcement is no different, but we can move that in a slightly accelerated fashion by getting a couple of things right.
One last question on the Trump thing, and then I want to turn to a little bit more focus on your ticket, and that is the question of the strategy of the Libertarian National Committee's chair, Angela McArdle. She seems to be looking at steering a strategy that is aimed expressly at chasing Biden out of the White House. She said, just like you said today earlier on this show, that Joe Biden is obviously worse than Donald Trump. And so she wants to steer your ticket to take Joe Biden out and remove him from the White House. How do you feel about the chair of your party's strategy there?
I don't know all about the strategy of the chair of our party. I'll have to defer to a conversation between you and her on that. And maybe she would like to be on your show and represent that. We have a ticket that I think makes a lot of sense for Americans for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is, you're right, getting rid of Joe Biden. But I also believe that we provide a a much better alternative than Donald Trump. I think that most people recognize, even, you know, you may view the Republican Party as having some value. When I was a member of the Republican Party several thousand years ago, that was a party that represented free trade and free markets, a deregulated business environment. Wow. You know, those of us who believed in those principles in that party have gone in two different directions. I think it's time that Americans recognize that they have a much better alternative in the libertarian platform.
Well, I appreciate your candor on that, Mike, and your transparency as such. So let's talk about a little bit about the ticket. So the Wake Up America show is a libertarian show, but I like to say it's a libertarian show not for libertarians. It's a libertarian show for normies, normal people to watch the Wake Up America show. Layman's people, regular people. So I do ask even my libertarian friends or people that I agree with difficult questions. And you know, when in 2016 I ran for president as a libertarian and took second place to Gary Johnson, I was sort of famously booed for suggesting that we should have laws to protect children from drug dealers and the abuse of drugs or alcohol, meaning that, you know, you shouldn't be able to sell heroin to a 5-year-old. And, you know, there's an anarchist contingent of the party that doesn't believe that there should be laws that protect children. Now, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question here, and I really appreciate it if you didn't dodge, if you could answer it to me straight. I mean, you might as well. You're running for president.
I'll give it to you straight, Austin, even if you and I don't see perfectly eye to eye.
Okay, I am deeply concerned about the positions of your presidential ticket when he states that he believes that young people should not be prevented from seeking the kinds of drugs that would result in chemical sterilization of them, Mike. And I'd like to know, honestly, your opinion on whether you think it is the proper role of government to prevent parents even from drugging their children and sterilizing them before they reach the age of reason.
Chase's position, and therefore our team's position, to start out with what's most important, is that the government needs to lay off of this area that has not been settled in terms of science, has not been settled in any number of contexts.
How could you do that to children, Mike? These are children. They have no option to say yes or no.
I'm not arguing with you, Austin. I'll just explain. How about you let me explain our position first, and then you can argue with me.
You tell me your take, Mike. Do you think you should be giving these kinds of drugs to children who have no choice? You, stand up and be a man and tell me how you feel, Mike.
I will. And I promised you I will, and I will. But you're going to have to wait 20 seconds for me to give you Chase's position first, okay?
Go ahead. You've got a minute.
Okay. Chase's position and our team's position is that it's okay for the government to step in and make sure that you wait until you're 18 for surgical procedures that are irreversible, that don't have any, you know, medical indication, that are, you know, in some sense discretionary. People need to wait until they're 18 to make these decisions, because you need to be able to participate fully as an adult in making these decisions. And Chase's position is that with regard to chemicals, this is a rapidly evolving area technologically, and therefore it's a gray area, and we're not prepared to invite the government in to criminalize the use of these chemicals, that it needs to be something that's decided between parents and government. It's a very libertarian position. Now, two things that you asked me in addition to that. Number one, my personal feeling with regard to the use of these chemicals, and you've asked my personal feeling about public policy regarding the use of these chemicals. Those are two very different questions. Regarding my personal feeling about the use of these chemicals is completely irrelevant, because as a libertarian, I believe that my opinion about what you should be doing with your life and with your children is irrelevant. Now, you've also asked me about public policy. I personally believe that we know enough about these chemicals to require children to wait until an age of consent until they can fully participate in these decisions, because these chemicals have irreversible effects.
You have said that it is irrelevant what your opinion is. I believe that you, as a leader, make it relevant because you are a person who is representing the values and beliefs of many people who self-identify as libertarians. So what I would like to know, Mike, is do you find it to be immoral personally to offer sterilization drugs to people who have not reached the age of attainment? Your personal moral stance is what I'm asking.
My feeling is that we should be preventing, as a society, children from using these chemicals until they're able to reach an age of consent, because they need to be able to fully participate in these decisions. These decisions are extremely complex. You need to be able to think through things like, are these irreversible? Is my doctor someone I can trust? Is my doctor an idiot? Will I have to find a second opinion? Is my second doctor an idiot? Are my parents giving me the straight stuff? Of whom should I seek another opinion? These are extraordinarily complex decisions that I believe cannot be made until someone is of a certain age.
So I just want to make sure that I'm being clear here. So you do believe it is the proper and necessary role of government to prevent parents from physically, surgically castrating their children, but the question of drugs that would castrate children, that should be left entirely between the parent, the doctor, and the child. You're separating those two issues. The government should intervene in one and not the other.
That is Chase's position and our team's position. My own personal feeling is that there's not a great deal of difference between some of these drugs and surgical procedures because they are irreversible and therefore require an age of consent to be reached.
So you personally can understand why someone like myself would be deeply disturbed by something like this. So that kind of a position, Mike, because considering the social contagion that's going around this country right now, where these young girls and boys are engaging in irreversible procedures, they're being damaged and harmed by Mike, people that you know very well are these lefty woke parents that are just trying to fit into their mom's soccer club so that they can all compete in the Victim Olympics and have a trans child because they're all such desperate attention whores that they would do something terrible to their children. It is a terrible moral crime that we are committing against an entire generation, is it not?
I'm hoping that that's a slight exaggeration, but I agree with the vector you're on. I am very much concerned about the social contagion. I am very much concerned about decisions being made by people who don't have the full panoply of information, whether that's data on outcomes, whether that's information on alternatives, how the chemicals work, how the medicines work together, the long-term implications. These are very, very complex areas. I do not estimate that families are making these decisions lightly, and I certainly don't want to denigrate the decisions made by others. They are making decisions that I will accept people are making in good faith for what they believe are the best decisions for their families. But I do believe
you're a bigger man than I, because I do not take the left and what they're doing with kids on good faith. But on that same vein, these are tough questions, Mike, and I appreciate that you're trying your best to answer them. But would you take your own kids to a drag queen story hour, drop them off, and then come back an hour later? Would you leave them unsupervised at a drag queen story hour, a gay man dressed up as a woman? Take your children to an event like that, leave them there unsupervised?
Austin, let me start out with the big picture. My daughter, today is actually her 30th birthday, which is a strange coincidence.
Oh,
I don't
happy
like
birthday.
dropping off my 30-year-old daughter now unsupervised for 2 hours at the grocery store. I'm a little overprotective, so I may not be the right one to ask.
So
But
you would not.
no,
Why not?
like I say, but you know,
Why not?
I am probably not the bar that you want to clear for, you know, the most liberal way to raise your child.
Right, but drag queen story hours for children where they're putting dollar bills, they're dancing like strippers. We've seen photographs of explicit events that are happening there, pictures like "it won't suck itself" signs. with 5-year-old children standing up there, children going up on stage and dancing themselves in provocative sexual ways. Mike, is this acceptable to you?
I don't like exposing children to things that I consider to be, sexualized. I don't know whether, you obviously have a particular circumstance in mind about which I am unfamiliar. But to try to answer your question in good faith, I don't like exposing kids to things that are, sexual in nature. As a stepping stone reference point, my kids, when they were 5 years old, they were at a Baptist preschool. So, I raised my kids a certain way. I don't necessarily believe that everyone should follow the path that I chose.
No, certainly I understand. And, I was a vacation Bible school teacher for a number of years, but I actually don't consider myself to be a social conservative at all, because for me, what consenting adults do behind closed doors is their own business, and the government should not be involved there, Mike. And you can recognize that the people who are critical of Chase Oliver and his positions are not critical of Chase and Oliver and his positions and your tickets positions on these things because we're homophobic. It's because we're concerned about the rights and the protection of children, which is a completely separate issue. Mike, I believe that adults should be able to go into a store and buy recreational cocaine, but there should be a police officer like your former colleagues ready to stop anyone who would allow it from falling into the hands of children. You can understand the position of someone like myself, right, who has no problem with consenting adults, but that draws the line at children, right?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think that that's not a bad example, that it's okay for us as a society, particularly with decisions made at a local level. It's okay for our communities to decide what kind of criminal code they want and to use that criminal code to protect children. I personally don't believe that our government is worth a damn in almost any regard whatsoever. But if we are going to use government for anything, let it be to protect our children. And this is something at which I believe that we need to get better. To your point, you had brought up that some people, feel differently than Chase does. Chase's position is not that you should be dropping off your children in any particular area for, of education or entertainment. His position, as is mine, is that is a decision that parents should be able to make on their own.
I don't know how I feel about putting children in. I'm fine with states or with local governments setting an age limit for drag shows to be 18 years old and preventing children from.
I get where you're coming from, but
shows.
How would you legally define a drag show in a way that would? I'm not asking really a philosophical question. I'm asking a technical one. How would you do that?
We'll find a way. There's when it comes to the protection of children. I think if you've a little bit left, a little bit right, finding the happy little center, I'm sure that people will be able to figure out a way to define a drag show. But again, like I said, I'm not a social conservative. I've been to dozens and dozens of drag shows in my life, and I've never been to a drag show that they didn't whip out a plastic dong, or that they didn't have somebody doing a strip tease, or that there wasn't explicit language, people drunk, acting like perverts. That's what drag shows are all about. They are inherently sexual. And I think that there's something deeply concerning about people who define themselves through their sexuality. Remember, we're talking about identity politics here, Mike, which is really the big question of the day, is people who identify themselves through their sexuality, saying specifically things like, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. Nobody supported the right of gay marriage harder than myself, or the Supreme Court decision that allowed people to be able to seek out their own happiness as adults. But again, boo me all day long, libertarian anarchists, but I just don't think you ought to be able to sell heroin to children or, perform sexual acts in front of them until they reach the age of 18. These are tough questions and difficult ones, Mike. And I do think that it is important that for Libertarian Party candidates who likely are not going to win the election, that you do be moral leaders for us all and represent us well. And that's really what I think I'm pushing for, because there's no need to act like a politician or evade or dodge any questions when you're running for president as a third party. You might as well stand strong and firm on what you believe and say screw anybody who disagrees with you, because all you really have right now is the opportunity to be is a moral leader.
Well, I
correct?
appreciate that, but this is a public policy office that we are seeking. I am not running to be your pastor. I am a conservative guy. I am socially conservative. By the way, Austin, I think you're probably a little bit socially conservative too. I think you're a lot like I am. But the point is that you and I do not believe that we should be in a position to tell other people how they should raise their kids.
That's wrong. That's wrong. See, libertarianism, we do want to enforce our morality onto government. See, we have a moral belief in a live and let live philosophy. Libertarianism is a moral philosophy. It's not just about cutting taxes. It is about a way of life and a lifestyle that is a culture. We are a culture. Libertarianism is
I think
is a
that
part
you
of
can make
culture.
your case, and you should make your case to the world. I make my case. Anyone who asks me in a different context how they should raise their kids, I'll tell you. Get into a good Bible-based school and, avoid exposure to weird crap. I don't have a problem telling my friends that. But as a matter of public policy, I just don't believe that that's an appropriate conversation.
I do. I think it's important for people who, especially in your position, again, when you may be seeking public office, but you're also representing an ideology. You're representing people who, like me, believe in a concept of limited government and politics is downstream from culture, Mike. I mean, I think you can understand that, like, if the culture buys into cultural Marxism, and if people are, wearing Che Guevara t-shirts, the government should allow something like that, but it should be highly discouraged because we find
discouraged
the
by
iconography
whom?
I mean, like, am I not making myself clear? I mean, I'm saying
No,
right now that
discouraged by whom? I do not believe it should be discouraged by the government. I don't think.
I'm not saying it should be discouraged by the government. I'm talking about the culture here, Mike. I'm talking about being
yes,
moral,
I think that you should discourage bad behavior in our government.
Right, we should
in
discourage
our
immoral. We should be moral leaders, right? Virtue, right? We should encourage virtue, right? Because how are we going to have a free society if we can't behave with virtue? Society breaks down without virtuous men and women behaving virtuously, which means that we have to have morality, or else we're going to lose our liberty.
And I have never said anything other than that. But you are correct that government policy is downstream from culture and must be. And those who don't recognize that try to affect our society at our peril. I do not believe that you should be using government as a tool to try to affect culture.
It's hard. That's a difficult question. And I think one we won't be able to solve here today, Mike, but it has been an interesting conversation today. I'd like to give you the opportunity, if there's anything else that you think that we haven't covered that you'd like to cover now, or anything that you'd like to plug, or a message for our listeners, I'll give you the final word.
Well, I appreciate that. And by the way, I appreciate the conversation as well. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for you, Austin, personally, and your ability to think through issues. So I'm grateful for these minutes together. Look, I think that Chase and I both believe that the big issues are keeping our government from propagating war around the world, that we can save a lot of money and a lot of lives by ending this militaristic view of how we should be conducting foreign policy, that we need to be reducing government spending, that we need to be replacing the Federal Reserve System with a rules-based system that says, no, our government cannot create as much money as it wants willy-nilly whenever it's in the mood. And these are the big issues that'll put more money in people's pocketbooks, that'll make us safer as a nation and a society. And these are the big issues.
Where can people go to find out more about your campaign, Mike?
They can go to votechaseoliver.com. They can go to MikeTermott.com. They can go to goldnewdeal.org and read all you want. The website's all linked together. And I believe that you will see, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or a libertarian, you'll see a platform that aligns better with your values than the other parties do.
There it is, Mike Ternot, vote Chase Oliver. One last thing real quick. If a list of names, someone asked me to put on a short list for the cabinet position, Mike Termott's name is on it. Keep it there, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Or sign me up for vacation Bible school too.
Mike, have a good one, brother. Good luck out there on the campaign trail. We'll hope you'll come back and update us as things go along.
I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good one. Let's give him a round of applause. That's always a difficult interview on the Wake Up America show. We always keep it tough. Even the people we like. Stephanie, I'm sure you got a lot to say. However, Justin Peterson has a lot to say too.
Oh,
He's
I was
join
just
us.
going to say something nice about him.
You can say something nice when we get back.
Okay.
You better get those Rumble Rant donations in because you won't be able to see the mini documentary if you don't. Head over to apforlibertyshop.com today because now we got to go to a commercial break. All right, we'll be right back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad and thankful to have you here. Boy, you don't get interviews like that anywhere else, do you? Only here on the Wake Up America show. So I hope you'll click that like button. And if it's your first time here to watch the show, I hope that you'll come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show streams live. It's a 2-hour tour de force of economic freedom and personal liberty. So make sure that before you leave today, you click that follow button and join us for the regular live show. Okay, well, I thought I had a live read there, but it looks like it's not. We might as well just move on to the next guest for Freedom Family Friday. Not only is Stephanie Peterson in the house still. Hi, Steffi.
Hello.
But live from Boston, Massachusetts, the cradle of the American Revolution, Justin Peterson joining us live. What's up, JP?
Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me on, as always. Appreciate it.
Justin, everybody loves your appearance. We can't wait to get you your own show.
Pretty good.
It's going to be amazing.
The pressure's on.
JP,
My
Mike.
appearance is pretty good, isn't it?
Yes,
it's a pretty good
yes.
appearance.
Justin, talk to us about that interview with Mike Termott. Key takeaways.
Well, I mean, the first word that comes to my mind is wild goose chase. You know, it's like trying to pin somebody down to like have an honest question about something. It's like, oh boy. I'm going to say this, and I took this away from the interview. Puberty blockers aren't necessary if you're 18 years old. You've already gone through puberty. So it's moot point to be 18 years old. You don't need, it's already gone. You've already gone through the process. So, you know, this consent thing, it's like if you want it to be 18, well, then the argument about puberty blockers is a non-starter because you've already gone through puberty by that point, right? That's the thing that I don't think people are connecting. It's like, you don't need puberty blockers if you've gone through puberty, right? You've already gone through it. It's not necessary. So if you want people to wait until the age of consent, which is what I was picking up in that interview, like he was saying, you know, wait till the age of consent, that's fine. Then that means puberty blockers aren't necessary.
Right. And that's what would actually make a kid more equal to the opposite sex. Because I remember when we were talking about transgender people in sports, if you took a puberty blocker as a kid, you'd actually like be able to compete more equally with those people of the opposite sex. So like if you're a trans female, you took hormone blockers, you wouldn't have all that male testosterone going on and all that bone growth and everything. So you'd be a little bit more comparable to the women in the sport, so it wouldn't be so unfair.
Right. And the other, you know, the indelicate piece of that is that one of the things, the effects of well, first of all, globally speaking, in other advanced countries, puberty blockers have been taken off the table as an option. America is one of the few places now where we're like, oh no, we're holding on to that. A lot of the other, especially like Sweden and Norway and the other places where we always look to that have always been on the cutting edge of this stuff since the 60s, they have begun to roll back using these drugs because one of the things they've been finding is they're not harmless drugs. No drug is a harmless drug. And they're finding that it has affected the spinal growth and the fusion of the spine in these people. So there is an effect there. And, you know, and also too, we have no longitudinal studies. You know, same with the COVID thing. It's like, well, we're just going to give you this. We have no studies on this. There's been no long-term range exploration of the efficacy or the side effects or the contraindications of this, but just go ahead and take it.
And I think that's what Mike was saying, was that because science is not advanced enough, that's why they're saying public policy needs to stay out of the drug part of it because the testing and the research has really not been done. So it's like they can't say for sure how the laws should operate regarding that. That's what I understand him to be saying.
That's what he seems to be saying.
Right.
But if that is his position, then he is wrong. He is wrong.
He's going along with what Justin is saying about how research really, we have no idea. We don't know these side effects.
Well, here's the thing. The Nazis did a lot of experiments on people. Joseph Mengele, for example, they didn't have a lot of longitudinal studies on what would happen if you put one twin in a freezer and you put the other one in a furnace. Okay.
Right. That's a no-brainer for sure. Yes.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? And the Japanese in Unit 431, they didn't have longitudinal studies on what would happen if you performed a vivisection on someone without any anesthetic and who, in order to determine how long it took for them to die.
Right.
So how are you going to do longitudinal studies on children involving giving them sterilizing, puberty blocking, cross-sex hormones?
Right. It'd be an immoral study, really.
It would be an immoral study. Exactly.
Who do you get consent from for that?
Exactly.
Parents.
Exactly.
Let me make a case scenario here. Let's pretend that you are a little boy and you let's say you're 8 years old, you're 9 years old, and you feel like you are feeling like you're a girl. So, okay, fine. Let's accept that that's truth. Okay, let's accept the argument on its face that that's truth. That little boy is transgender and he wants to be a woman. Fine. Okay, fine. So then what do? We're going to put that little boy on puberty blockers. Okay. Let's say that that's the trajectory of this child. The child wants to be trans. Okay, so the puberty blockers prevents the growth of the penis. Just to put it out there, it prevents the penis from growing. If that little boy decides someday that he wants to have surgery, a vaginoplasty, there isn't enough tissue in his penis to invert, to make a neo-vagina if he wants to be a woman. This is what happened to Jazz Jennings, right? There wasn't enough tissue there because Jazz Jennings had gone into these puberty blockers at a young age. Now, wouldn't it behoove you to not take the puberty blocker if you were trans and decide at 18 years of old, when you actually had enough tissue to have an inverted penis. I love that we're talking about this on the morning show.
Thanks.
Wouldn't that be far more just? Wouldn't that be far more just to that trans person to be able to have the surgical procedure with enough tissue on hand that they could do that surgery and have that surgery be successful if that trans person wanted to have that surgery? I think that's more fair.
And I think that's the conversation doctors definitely need to have with their patients, is tell them what actually happens. I think a lot of people don't know that fact that you're sharing right now. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So I mean, you either, yeah. And also, like, why are we so in love with big pharma? That used to be a liberal position, 10, 15 years ago, that we were always suspect of big pharmaceutical companies. It's like, what are they doing? They're wanting to keep us all sick. They're wanting to keep us all medicated. These were liberal views 20 years ago, and now they're sort of right-wing views. It's wild.
I think we like big pharma more now because of mental health, and mental health drugs are very, very popular. Pretty much everybody's on ADHD, depression, anxiety medication.
I asked the Libertarian vice presidential candidate, Mike Termott, if he would drop off his children at a drag queen story hour and come back an hour later. He said, I don't even like dropping off my 30-year-old daughter at the grocery store. How do you feel about that response?
Well, I thought it was very telling that he made the distinction of Bible school and vacation Bible schools, because I'm like, are you basically saying that we have competing religions? Because if you are, you're correct.
Oh, I didn't know that there's something different. Vacation Bible school versus Bible school. What is that?
Well, I mean,
he made the comparison to drag queen story hours to vacation Bible school. Which he probably didn't think about it, but in some ways he was sort of endorsing the idea that the woke views of the left and the manifestations of it in Drag Queen Story Hour are a manifestation of their religious views.
Yes, it's a social religion. Social justice is a religion. It is a religion. The woke social justice. I don't mean the old-fashioned social justice that I believe in, right? Which is based on principles of liberality and equality under the law, and that all men are created equal. That's a very telling argument. It's like, we have competing ideologies. It's like, well, yeah, you do. And you have competing religions in a way.
But how did you feel about him not answering that question in that way?
Well, I mean, it's a political thing, right? I mean, it's political to not answer the question. That's why I was comparing it to a wild goose chase.
I can see his answer in what he was saying. He's basically saying, I wouldn't do that with my daughter. He says, I believe in the Bible. My kids went to Bible school. I can tell he's a very moral man, a religious man.
Yeah, and it's funny because like this shift is I would talk about, like, if you go back to a gay bar or you go back into gay culture 20 years ago, gay people didn't want anything to do with children. That was if there were gay guys who had children, that was kind of fringe. That was very like 0.001%. Like most gay people did not want to deal with anything with children. We would see kids and we'd run the other direction. We'd be like, oh, kids, get away. So this faction now that's pressing itself into children and access to children is not something historically that has been in any way a part of the gay rights movement, period. It never has been part of that. So that's first of all. I mean, that's number one. It's like, why do we want access to children now? And also, in the 90s, I believe, when the Gay Pride Parade was going to happen, I think this is in New York City, there was the NAMBLA, the National Association of Man-Boy Love, or whatever it is, they wanted access to the parade so that they could march in the parade. And the gay rights organizations were like, no, you can't march in our parade. You're not allowed to march in our parade. Because at that time, the gay community didn't want to be stigmatized as being pedophiles, which is unfortunately what was still is the pervasive modality that most people, when they think of gay people, they think, oh, they're pedophiles. It's not just that you're gay, you're also a pedophile. You're brought into that whole ethos that you're not just a gay person, but you're also a pedophile. So gay people have been trying to fight that for years. And when we fought for gay marriage, I saw the Dave Rubin talking about this. It was the idea that, we just want to be like everyone else. We just want to be normal. We don't want special things. We just want access to what everyone else has. I don't understand. And also, can we just have a moment for the idea that when you look at the crowds of people that are at these drag queen story hours, they are women. They are white, middle-class, bourgeoisie women who are going to these events. You don't see people of color. You do not see, for example, Black people, Hispanics. You don't see very, very little men at these events. So what is going on culturally and sociologically? What is that about?
Well, I mean, it's like the studies that we've been seeing that show that when it comes to young people, that the young women are like 3 times more liberal than their mothers and their grandmothers were, right? So there is some kind of cultural shift with women in American society that they have just taken a hard left turn. And I wonder where this is coming from, right? Like, I think it has a lot to do with the culture, because when I turn on, for example, Stephanie and I will watch HBO, we'll watch the Soprano reruns every once in a while, and the advertisements are nothing but lesbian girl power shows, right? It's every single like bit of information. If you're not watching alternative media, if you're watching kind of mainstream media at all, everything is about the message. Everything is about the revolution. Everything is about the woke agenda. Everything has at least some connection to the agenda that the left is pushing. So if you're watching MSNBC or NBC or ABC or any of these mainstream media outlets, which I only watch clips of them in order to get content for my show, but if you're watching them and you're seeing those commercials and things like that, it is hardcore. It is programming. It is hardcore programming.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you a funny story. I don't know if anybody of your viewers have seen this movie. It's one of my favorites, and I watch it pretty much on the reg. John Carpenter's film They Live, with Roddy Piper. Have you seen it? You got to watch it.
Yes.
It's on Tubi. You can watch it for free, I think.
It's a great movie.
The whole premise of the movie is that he gets these magical sunglasses, right? And then he goes around and he puts the sunglasses on and he actually sees the reality of what's happening all around him. He sees billboards that are like, consume, buy, obey, and then he sees people around him as aliens, right? He sees them all as sort of these, literally like weird facially skulled aliens. And I'm like, that's kind of, if you're operating in that system, you don't have the sunglasses on, basically. You don't have the glasses on.
If you're red pilled, then you see the world for as it actually is, not as it's portrayed to be. So in the movie, aliens have sort of taken over society, but they look just like everyone else.
Sounds great.
Right. So it's a great movie. And when he puts on the glasses, he can see them. And then they find out that he can see them. And so he's got to fight and run. What were we going to say, Justin?
No, I think it's just that movie is so prophetic in a way, because that's kind of what mainstream culture is. Be quiet, go along with the thing, sit down, don't rock the boat. Just consume, buy things, just buy things.
Right.
Don't
just consume.
Just consume, buy things, do things. Don't think. Don't ask questions. Right.
Just buy product and then get excited for next product.
Right. But the other thing, too, I have to say is this is going to get really philosophical, but the left always plays in this dialectic, right? In the sense that the left will do something very provocative, like access to children at drag queen events. And then the reaction, right, of the right is what then the left plays on, right? They're going to provoke, and then they're going to go, ha, 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 I got you. So the trick is to figure out how to break that dialectical model of action and reaction, right? That's the thing we have to break, in our culture, because that's how they play the game. I'm going to change the word woman, and you're going to get upset. And your reaction now is what I'm going to use against you to demonstrate your bigotry, even though I changed the rules of the game. It's a dirty game that they're playing here. It's a very dirty game.
We're going to switch topics here for just a moment. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone who's tuning into the Wake Up America show to click that like button. And thank you very much for tuning into the show. The stream does we do stream live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour tour de force. So click that follow button and join us regularly. For those who like watching the Wake Up America show's bonus content, we haven't unlocked today's mini documentary just yet. We are $48 though towards our $60 goals. So
somebody bought a shirt.
Joni did. So for those who'd like to see the mini documentary, we are now only $12 away from the Wake Up America show's bonus content. If you'd like to see today's mini documentary about political concepts that have changed the world, then get those Rumble Rant donations in, or go to ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. Javier Milei must have retweeted something about 20 minutes ago or something, because a whole bunch of people just jumped onto the website. And that's usually whenever Javier is tweeting us.
I have a post set to go out about him at some point.
Well, all I know is that like whenever hundreds of people jump onto the website, it's usually Argentina, but it looks like Forest City, United States, Sweden, and Altoona. So actually, maybe somebody here in the United States did it. I don't know. But anyways, but yeah, so head on over to ap4libertyshop.com. If you make a purchase by the time the show is over, anything that you buy there other than like a keychain is going to unlock that documentary. So grab another box of coffee if you already love our founding flavors, or a t-shirt. We've got lots of cool tank tops for summer as well, like our Taxes Are Gay shirt, which is great for Pride Month. You can wear that
relevant to what we're talking
if
about.
If you're going to Pride Month, just get yourself a nice Taxes Are Gay. And people are like, well, that doesn't, but they would think that's good, but then we think that's taxes are bad. And it's like, just don't overthink it. Okay. Just let it be fun. The absurdity is the humor.
Just consume. AP
for Liberty Shop. Consume. We are capitalists.
You know something funny though? I just wanted to bring this up before we jump off the Drag Queen Story Hour. So I put out a poll on Twitter last week. Would you let your kids go to a Tradwife Story Hour? Because I did my very first Tradwife Story Hour on hustling and homemaking on my video where I read a Calvin Coolidge book as a tradwife. And about 30% of the voters actually said they would not take their child to a Tradwife Story Hour.
Well, I could understand why somebody's like, I wouldn't want to take them to something that's just kind of explicitly political, which I understand.
I know. It kind of surprised me, though, because I'm like, okay, Tradwives are not groomers, or at least I didn't think they were.
No, people just probably think it's weird. And their wives wouldn't like it because the husbands would be like, look at the hot Tradwife.
I know.
We have to say thank you to Courtney Conover. She just donated $5, and we are now $53 towards our $60 goal. So a little bit less than $10 if you get to watch our mini documentary. And the $5, Justin, is owed to you as starting funds for your own major show, FYI.
I know.
Sure.
It would just be me and Brad Palumbo and Blair White and Buck.
Angel.
We need more gay people in the liberty movement.
Well, we need more Justin Peterson gays and fewer Chase Oliver gays, if you know what I'm saying. Justin, let's talk about something very gay. The federal government stepping in to shut down Alex Jones, $1.5 billion judgment made against the Infowars host. Now, we're not big conspiracy guys, right? No. But this is a conspiracy against Alex Jones. I mean, a legit conspiracy to an extent, right?
Let me ask you a question, because it's something I've been thinking about with regard to this. Don't we have on the books in the United States laws against cruel and unusual punishments? Wouldn't that be an unusual punishment? Like, I don't understand how that doesn't qualify as an unusual punishment. I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. I don't even watch him. But I also think, like, with his video I think you showed today of him sort of sobbing, when you sort of live in histrionic like he does, I don't know it's real with him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
he's an actor.
Right.
Well, the sense of genuine, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I've never known if I was always just sort of being played by Alex Jones. Mm-hmm. And so now that all this is going on and he's acting in this way, I mean, I've been in theater my whole life, and I know what's real versus what isn't. Right. And when I see, I'm like, I don't know if I should. I mean, I'm so skeptical of everything anymore. Yeah. I just don't know if that's even real.
I mean, he is losing his house. They are destroying his life.
I'd be crying.
They're taking his business. I mean, I'm probably crying not on camera, but I would probably be destroyed.
Yeah, I didn't see tears coming from his eyes, honestly.
No, I don't know.
I mean, it's just like you were saying earlier. I think it's the whole idea of a testing ground. And the problem with, freedom of speech is like there is that defamation, right? And then you sue someone, right? We have legal access through law to sue someone for saying something like that. So, I mean, when they said, well, how much, when the first ruling came down, it was like billion. How much money was the first ruling?
$1.5 billion,
yeah, I mean,
Justin.
That's just bonkers to me. Bonkers. Because who it's like when they burn the pride flag, right? It's like who was damaged by the burning of the pride flag? Like, it's a hate crime against whom exactly? Who of the flag? It's just like a victimless crime.
Well, I was comparing it like to O.J. Simpson. So O.J. Simpson actually killed someone, and then he got acquitted and was sued in civil court and was issued a massive fine. Nobody feels bad for O.J. Simpson, right? Because he actually harmed people. Alex Jones cause mental pain and suffering, mental anguish, but the punishment does not fit the crime.
That's
right?
that's the thing I've been arguing. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like it's not proportionate to me. Yeah, it's absolutely not proportionate.
And he's apologized. He said he was wrong. And he's he's offered recompensation. But this to me strikes as what the government is trying to do to Donald Trump, to Steve Bannon. They're using the government to try and silence and jail the people that are their political opponents.
Well, and if you even just zoom out of it from a partisan view, it's just the chilling of free speech. It is the making an example of someone, regardless of their political affiliation, which is what I care about. I care about principles. I don't care about parties. And I look at that and go, that is going to lead to the chilling of speech, and people that are afraid to speak out. That's our founders decided that was the most important thing. That was our First Amendment, and that everything flowed out of that First Amendment right to be able to speak, to have debate, to have good ideas. Because in the Enlightenment, as we were coming out under monarchical rule, right, where you didn't have free speech rights, you could be punished, you could be put in stockades for things that you said, we decided in a liberal, post-Enlightenment society that the ability to speak and to have debate and to reason and to ration, John Stuart Mill on liberty, to have these debates was how we got to better information and how we got to better speech. And so in some ways you have to deal with speech you don't like. Hate speech is really just speech you hate, I found at the end of the day. I've never paid attention to Alex Jones. I mean, really the only sort of connection I have to him is when he called you Leif Bieberson back in the early 2000s. This Leif Bieberson looking fellow over here. I'm like,
Justin Bieber lookalike.
This Justin Bieber looker. I'm like, I don't like him because he doesn't like my brother. You're dead to me, Alex Jones.
Well, that is totally understandable, of course.
Been flattered he would even know you.
No, it's just funny because actually a lot of the Infowars guys really like me, like Owen Schroyer. He's actually a fellow Missouri boy, and some of the other Chase Geiser and stuff, they've had me on Infowars and stuff in the past for debates and things. I did a JFK conspiracy theory debate about a year ago, and that was a lot of fun. I think the thing is with Alex Jones is when you're talking about theater, Justin, this is all theater.
It's all
right.
theater.
This is all theater, and some of us have really nice, shiny studios, right, and that are in downtown New York on the 40th floor, right, with a big, beautiful glass skyscraper, and some of us have webcams on our laptops in our homes. But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing.
Yes.
I
think one of my favorite quotes of all time is, "Politics is really just Hollywood for ugly people." And I'm just like, yes, that's true. Yeah, you're right. It's theater. And this is why now I live in an age in myself where I'm so skeptical of every single thing that I see.
Me too.
I never accept that anything that I'm reading is true. I don't accept anything that I'm seeing is true because it's always being funneled through the interpretation of someone else. And so therefore it's biased, right? Just like with President Biden yesterday pooping his pants. Did he poop his pants yesterday?
Oh, I love that clip. He looks like he's bowing down or praying. I really have no idea what's going on.
I'll pull it up. So, so yesterday, where was he? It was the Normandy thing, wasn't it?
He was at the D-Day celebration, yes, in France.
Yes. So he,
his wife is right next to him, and she didn't even blink. She didn't even think anything weird was happening.
The belief is that he was looking like he wanted to sit down, like he was going to take a seat. Right. Hold on. I've got the video pulled up now on the screen while we're talking about it. And he looks like he's going to sit down. But suspiciously, this is the same position that many toddlers take whenever they are, when they're in their diapers, when they poop their pants, whenever they're squeezing out a turd. You can see
trying to get in position.
But then here's the thing, and this video doesn't show it. Jill Biden quickly hurries him away.
Oh, I didn't see that.
After this.
Okay, because she looked like she didn't even notice.
No, because I think, I think that's kind of what really fueled the rumors. Because one, he looks like he's squeezing one out.
We used to call it pinching a loaf in my day.
Pinching a loaf, yes. But I think, and I can't. This is the video that I found. But I mean, there is a video of her kind of leading him away quickly right after that. So that's why people thought he pooped his pants. But I mean, like, he's not well, Justin. He's not doing well at all. And
but this is the thing. You have to live in an alternate reality where you don't see that. Again, that's the sunglasses thing.
Right.
That's the thing with the sunglasses again. Oh, you go, look at that guy. He can't put sentences together. You take the glasses off, and then everyone's like, oh, no, he's brilliant. He's our hero. We love him. And I'm like, what is going on? Take the sunglasses, put them on. Don't take them off. Put them on.
Well, I feel like us in the Liberty community, we're going to go through that when Ron Paul gets a lot older, when he's not able to physically function like he used to. It'll be sad to watch, but we're still going to respect his ideas a lot in the Liberty community. So
well, that's
I
why,
think
I
that'll
don't think
be
that
really
Biden is
hard
even,
when that happens.
Yeah, and I don't even think really the Biden's the president. I think he's just being propped up by an administrative state. He's just a figurehead. He just gets trotted out like a pony, like a show pony.
Yeah, I think Obama was, in many ways, he was also a puppet because the people around him in his administration were the ones who were pushing a lot of that woke stuff, because Obama would actually speak out against it. Obama actually there were quotes where Obama was like, I think some of this stuff goes too far. But it was the people around Obama who, in his second term, were advancing a lot of this, like gender theory and postmodernism that has taken over. Although I have I don't know if you saw this recently, Justin, but Christopher Rufo kind of pointed out that Ibram, is it Kendi?
Ex-Kendi. Yes.
Ex-Kendi actually he's now getting called out by many in the mainstream left for some of his shoddy scholarship. He's not the one who wrote the 1619 Project, but he is the person who has advanced much of the critical race theory that has infected our corporations with diversity, equity, and inclusion standards. He's now getting called out by many in the mainstream left, isn't he?
Yeah, and yes, and I'm glad to see it, because I've been following that story since the George Floyd situation in 2020, because once George Floyd happened, everybody was picking up his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And all of the people were talking about, oh, it's so important, we have to read this book, it's so important. And then I was like, I read it and I was like, this book is built on circular logic and Kafka traps, right? Like the whole thing just doesn't stand up to cognitive reason or rationality. And he is here in Boston. He's at, I think he's at BU. He has an endowed position. And my favorite is, the criticism of him from Glenn Lowry. If you ever want to watch hilarious takedown of Ibram X. Kendi, who is Henry Rogers, by the way, that's his name, of Ibram X. Kendi. Watch Glenn Lowry just take him down. He's in an interview with John McWhorter, who I also adore. I love John McWhorter. And Glenn Lowry goes, he's a lightweight, John. He just keeps talking about how, where's the scholarship? Where is the study of a canonical text? Where is the real erudition, he says. I'm like, ooh, you're saying all my favorite words. But yeah, I mean, and now, so great, we got Kendi, now we got to get D'Angelo. Now she's ready. Now we got to get her going, because her grift is just as bad as Kendi's is. She makes $30,000 for her speaking engagements, to spread this stuff to people, these lies.
You think that they have learned?
And she traps you so that if you become uncomfortable with the conversation about racism, and let's say you begin to cry or you begin to get emotionally upset, your reaction is proof of your guilt. That's called a Kafka trap, right? That's known as a Kafka trap.
What's a Kafka trap, Justin?
A Kafka trap is basically that your denial of your guilt is proof of your guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Only people that are guilty say that they're not guilty. It's a trap. It's a literal trap that was put into one of Kafka's books, Franz Kafka's books. It's a circular argument, right? That your denial is proof of that you are guilty. I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to go back to the old days of people like Joan Rivers, right? The comedian Joan Rivers. So she was on a radio show, and someone accused her of being racist. She unloaded on this dude on live radio, and she went hog on this guy. And I was like, you know what? We need more people like that are just going to be like, you don't get, like I saw that yesterday with your story on Twitter or X or whatever.
Yeah, you're a racist, Austin.
Oh, did you see? Yeah, that was going to be my next.
And an anti-Semite.
Yes, I'm a racist and an anti-Semite. Actually, that's a perfect segue. Here's what we're going to do, Justin, because they've unlocked the bonus content.
Oh,
Thanks everybody. They did.
Thank you, everybody.
We're going to take a little brief 5-minute break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the left-wing super PAC that did a hit piece on me yesterday. Pretty shoddy work. I am a racist and an anti-Semite. Oh, no, Mr. Bill. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Enjoy.
Wake Up America show bonus content examines political cycles that have changed the world. Today we consider Tytler's cycle of civilizations. Tytler's cycle of civilizations is a theory that delves into the stages of societal evolution and decay. Though attributed to Alexander Fraser Tytler, the origins of this concept are actually unknown. Nevertheless, it provides a compelling framework for understanding societal change. The cycle begins in bondage, where societies are oppressed under authoritarian rule, limiting rulers rather than the people. Historical examples include the USSR and Nazi Germany, where citizens had minimal control over governance. Next, we see the emergence of spiritual faith, where societies embrace higher ideals, often through religious or spiritual awakenings. This sets the stage for great courage, where citizens rally against their oppressors, inspired by newfound beliefs. The American Revolution exemplifies this, with events like the Boston Tea Party sparking significant change. Following liberation, societies enter the stages of liberty and abundance, where freedom leads to prosperity and cultural flourishing. The United States post-World War II is a prime example, enjoying economic growth and geopolitical power. However, success breeds selfishness and apathy. As societies grow comfortable, the absence of common struggles leads to a focus on personal gain and a decline in societal cohesion. Corruption increases, and the public becomes disinterested in communal well-being, as described in Edward Gibbon's Observations of the Roman Empire. This disengagement sets the stage for dependence, where citizens increasingly rely on government for basic needs, setting a path back to bondage, as seen in modern welfare states. This cycle suggests a return to conditions where citizens are dependent on and subject to their leaders. Now, considering 21st century America, it appears we are in the stages of selfishness, apathy, and approaching dependence. Symptoms include political corruption, rising crime, and a growing reliance on government assistance programs. This analysis prompts us to reflect on our current societal stage and the potential to break this cycle. Understanding these patterns may help us steer toward a more stable and sustainable future. So, where do you think we stand in Tytler's cycle? Is this a valid way to view our society's progression? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's engage in a meaningful discussion about our civilization's path and potential future.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. It's Freedom Family Friday on the program, which means my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wifey Stephanie's here. Hey, Steph.
Hey.
How you doing, cutie pie? You want to make out? Oh my goodness. Not only is Stephanie Peterson here, but there's a little one present. Hazel. There
Hazel
she is.
Peterson, weighing in at 4 pounds, 13 ounces.
Got her pulled up on the screen right now. She sure is a cutie. Very beautiful, Stephanie.
She's going to be the next Angelina Jolie with those lips.
She's got her daddy's lips.
That's right.
Very beautiful. All right. Well, that's a little Peterson. We need a big Peterson in here, a very big Peterson. Justin Peterson, my brother, live from Boston. They don't make them any bigger when it comes to Petersons than
No,
you,
I got all the good genes, I gotta say. I don't know how I lucked out, but I did. People always say to me, how did you get so tall? And I say, I have no idea, because nobody in my family is tall at all. No one in our family is tall. I mean, like, we're 6 foot. We're like 6 feet tall, you know, mostly.
We always blame the milkman.
Justin, so there is this joke that's been going around in right-wing circles for a number of years, and that is that the left can't meme.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why they say that the left can't meme, and then that people like Beto O'Rourke of Texas were freaking out about powerful right-wing memes, is because if you can't meme, it really means that you don't have a sense of humor, right? That you don't understand things like satire and comedy, right? Because there are jokes that sometimes go over people's heads.
Yeah, I have that problem a lot. Even me, like knowing you, I'm married to you. I still don't always know when you're joking. I struggle with that.
I love you, but we can't always teach to the B students now. We want to sometimes have a little bit of a discussion that might go over someone's heads, you know, and not everybody can be unlike, you know, like have the background of like, you know, if I make a joke that's going to involve, you know, the Sharks and the Jets, you're not going to get it because you haven't seen West Side Story.
Oh.
Okay. It's not to say you're stupid, but it's to say that, like, you know, sometimes, you know, great minds get together and they want to tell a bunch of jokes and have inside jokes, and they don't have to like dumb it down for everybody.
It's a different kind of humor too, but I think also it's a lot harder on social media, online, through texting. Things are so misinterpreted.
That is my.
It
That
is
was
so
gonna be my
hard to
next
read
point.
anything and understand exactly what's being meant.
Well, but here's the thing. Before, let's say that you were a well-funded Democratic super PAC, and your job is to do hit pieces on Republicans and conservatives, okay, and libertarians. So I had the Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft on my show yesterday, and we had a conversation about his run for governor and, you know, issues here and there. And then all of a sudden, mysteriously, I get this tag on my tweet of a picture of the two of us, completely innocent. Like there wasn't even, nobody even really paid attention to the picture of me and Jay. It was like a traditional political picture. I'm pulling up the picture right now. But until the American Bridge 21st Century decided to post the picture and say that the MoGov GOP frontrunner Jay Ashcroft happily appeared on a radio show, this is a podcast, by a raging racist and anti-Semite. Justin, I'm not just a racist anti-Semite, I'm a raging racist and anti-Semite. What did you think about this attack piece on your poor little brother?
Well, you know, here's what, let me put this into perspective. Had I read that 7 years ago, I would have been mortified, right? I would have been absolutely mortified because I would have been like, oh my God, Austin's in trouble. Oh no. Oh,
Why?
dear.
Why would you have been mortified? Because he was running for president? Or
No,
US
just
Senate?
because it was like, you know, it's your brother and you don't, you know, it's like, Austin, be quiet. You know, that's what I would have said. Like, whatever
you're
you're
used to
saying,
him
Austin,
doing these
stop
shenanigans.
It. Well, yeah, just like, Austin, why do you always have to stir the shit all the time? I'm so over it. You know, you little freaking gadfly. I can't deal with you sometimes. And then that's 7 years ago. That's 7 years ago, right? Today, I now know that words don't mean anything. And I know that words are the way, and name calling is the modus operandi now of controlling people and telling people to be quiet. That, you know, a person can tell you that the sky is blue and you can say, why are you a Nazi? It doesn't mean anything anymore. And when I was growing up as a kid, that was one of the things that we learned. Name calling, it's like sticks and stones, right? I think when I read that yesterday, I said, who cares? Who cares at this point? Like if someone calls you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe or any kind of phobe or ist, what they're really showing you is that they can't engage with your arguments. And the only thing that they can do is resort to ad hominem attacks, right? They cannot engage. They can just call you names. And I'm like, and actually, the cool people today are all racists. And the cool people today are all transphobes. And the cool people today are all homophobes. And I'm like, yeah, because those are the people who are actually asking the questions about things that are going on in society. So if that means you're going to put me on that list, give me my number. Right? Give me my number. I'm ready. Because we have to get to a point where name calling isn't going to scare us anymore. Because so many people have been scared into compliance with bullshit because they're afraid of being called a name. And we just need to be able to say, yeah, that doesn't affect me. We need to develop the psychological resistance and grit enough to say, throw it at me. I don't care because I know who I am. I know who you are, Austin. I know your character. I've known you for, 40 some odd years. You know, you're not a racist. You're not an anti-Semite. You're not even close to those things. So, it has no quarter. I have no quarter for that stuff.
I've always hated bullies, Justin. That is my thing. And so like what could be construed by some as being a gadfly, I like to put it this way, is that I like to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. In other words, that the people in our society who are downtrodden, who are being bullied or are being spat on or stomped on, I tend to like to defend them. And the people in our society who are doing the stomping, the people who are doing the bullying, I like to bully. I like to pressure. I like to make them feel uncomfortable. What's fascinating about this, Justin, is these attacks that they had on me. It's not just their inability to understand satire.
Right.
But for example, in this tweet that they had pulled up of mine, we're talking about Javier Milei. I've got the tweet up on the screen. Someone was talking about how the Libertarian Party in the United States needs a Javier Milei. They need someone like Javier Milei. And what I said was too Jew friendly.
So they really took that out of context.
What that meant was that the reason that the libertarians wouldn't pick someone like Javier Milei is because Javier Milei is a friend of the Jews and they don't like Jews. Not me.
Are these the groypers? Are these the groypers?
Yes, I'm criticizing groypers and, like, you know, libertarian anti-Semites, right? Who, like, you know, like, I'm just not an anti-Semite, I'm an anti-Zionist, right? But then the mask slips and they post like a Hitler is cool meme. But too Jew friendly, I'm criticizing Nazis. I'm criticizing Nazis in that, right? And then I post a quote from Che Guevara where he is being racist, saying that the black is indolent and a dreamer, spending his meager wage on frivolity or drink. Europeans have a tradition of working and saving. Che Guevara is saying something very racist there. I'm posting that to point out that these leftist communists are racist.
Yes.
And they're interpreting it as me endorsing Che Guevara.
Anytime you don't go along with the groupthink, anytime you don't go along with the collective, which is what communism is, it's communism, right? Anytime you don't go along with them, you are a traitor to your race. You are a self-hating, homophobic. You know, you have internalized homophobia. You're not politically black. You know, all the names that they give to people when you don't go along with the group, right? That the group think and is so powerful. Also, Che Guevara, no friend to gay people, I might add, right? Did not like gay people, period. Be very careful who you valorize.
Right.
So you're a homophobe as well.
Right.
If you're quoting
be very
Che.
careful.
Well, this too, they completely misinterpreted. I'm having a conversation with Jeremy Ryan Slade. He's talking about, he says monetary policy is the number one thing that killed Rome in the West. And we're having this back and forth about what, you know, brought about the fall of Rome. And I said that it was hard to really say it was one thing, that Rome also refused to defend their culture. They were swarmed by barbarians. That and the times simply were changing. And I said, this is what they took umbrage with. I said, Jew religions were springing up, aimed at destroying the foundation of Roman culture. And so change was inevitable. That I said Jew religions.
Yeah, what does that mean? What's a Jew religion?
Christianity is a Jew religion.
Oh, Judeo-Christian, you mean?
Yes,
Oh,
but like Mormonism is a Jew religion, right?
Oh, I wouldn't know that.
Catholicism is a Jew religion, right? It all sprang out of Judaism.
Oh, okay. I would have no idea what that meant.
All of Christendom has sprung out of the Jewish religion. And so my discussion there is that the Jews were not happy with the way that the Romans conducted their religions. Like they had multiple gods. They were not polytheists, right? So all of these Jewish religions were in conflict with the majority religion of the time. So in saying that these Jew religions were springing up aimed at destroying the foundation of Roman culture, they're saying that I'm some kind of like right-wing Roman cultural supremacist, as if I'm defending, you know, Athena and Zeus and, you know, all that stuff, right?
And they probably don't know what Jew religions means. I thought they probably think you're saying the Jewish religion.
Again, they teaching to the D students, right? Like some A students are having a conversation. Go ahead, Justin.
The other thing, too, about Christians is people always think, oh, there's this sort of Christian narrative, right, that Christians were thrown to the lions because they were Christians. No, zoom out. Christians were thrown to the lions because they wouldn't worship the state. They wouldn't worship the god of the state, which was what? Nero? Wasn't Nero or whoever was the Caesar, right? Whoever was the god was the state, you know, leader. That was why they were not, they were politically outsiders, because they were the first. And this is why Christianity, oh Lord, are you going to get it out of me today? This is why Christianity, I think, is important in the United States. And the reason for this is that Christianity does not bow to state power and state authority. It appeals to a higher authority, an appeal to heaven, if you will, right? So it has a almost, what is it? Inoculation, right? When you get a virus and you're kind of inoculated against it, it has an inoculation against this sort of state totalitarianism, because it says, no, we don't worship the state. We don't worship the government. We don't worship these people. We have a higher authority. And I think in some ways that acts in culture as a buffer against a total, you know, state control. You need people who will say, you know, we don't worship the government. We don't worship the state. We have a higher authority. You know, so I think that in some ways there's the benefit to Christianity, right, socially, because it does have
make
that
the people
bulwark.
in the chat happy.
For sure.
Oh, well, good.
some people had said that they would prefer that to use the term Abrahamic rather than Jew religion. But I actually think that Jew religion is a more powerful phrase because people know what a Jew is and they don't know what Abrahamic means. So when I use the term Jew religion, people understand that I'm talking specifically about religions that are of and related to Judaism. I mean, there are thousands of religions that have sprang forth from Judaism, Justin? I mean, the problem is that I think people always look at religions like from a not monotheistic, but they look at it as a monolith. They
yes.
think Christianity is a monolith when the
Yes.
Protestants and the Catholics obviously do not agree with that.
No.
Right. Judaism is not a monolith, right? The Chabad Judaism sect that we went to in California, Stephanie, with your sister, that's one branch of Judaism, but there are Orthodox Jews and there are liberal Jews and there are conservative Jews. It's not a
Right.
monolith, right?
Yeah, I would say whatever you write online, probably just make it easy to Google that term. So it's like if you look up Jew religions on Google, it's like, would it come up with all the Jew religions? Versus if you Google Abrahamic religions, would it come up with the Abrahamic? Because for me, when I don't understand something, I Google it. So it has to be easily
but I don't
Googled for
want,
me.
but the thing is again, you can't always teach the D
Right.
students. And I'm having a high level conversation there
Yeah.
with someone that I don't have to explain that to.
I know.
Right. So
That's the tough thing about social media is everyone's in on the conversation that's private.
But here's the thing, Stephanie, I'm laying traps for people
Yeah.
like this. So like what these people have done, they have walked into my trap.
Yeah.
Right. Because like I've put cheese in a bear trap and they've stepped into it.
Right.
So I don't want to do what you've told me to do because because by teaching to the D students in such a way, I'm not laying out a trap. Right. I'm in this way, I'm taking my enemies, my ideological opponents, and I'm forcing them to walk onto my ground so that I can destroy them. And now here we are.
Well, that's why I'm not as
destroying them.
popular as you because I'm way too politically correct.
Well, I'm a sly bugger, they'll say. But on this last tweet, Justin, that they got me for, I had written this article after the KC parade shooters, and this is what they had said was an example of my racism. The KC parade shooters are further proof we need to talk about Black cultural dysfunction. And my tweet was actually pulled from Thomas Sowell research when I said this. Back in 1938, only 11% of Black kids were born to unmarried women. By 1965, it bumped up to 25%, and now 75%. We're at a whopping 75% of Black children are born to unmarried women. Even during slavery, Black children were more likely to be raised by both parents than they are today. That is an example of my racism by pointing out a simple statistical fact about the breakdown of the Black family.
Right. Again, it's ad hominem, but because it's Thomas Sowell, see, that's where if you can engage with arguments, you're going to be better off. But if you're always playing the genetic fallacy, which is a real thing, it's a real fallacy. It's the idea that, oh, well, this person said this, so therefore it can't be true. And that's a fallacy because anybody can say something and it can be true. You really do have to study logic and reason and rationality and fallacies of thinking to play at any of these games that these people are playing. You have to be way above what they're doing because they're not, right? Like when you debate and you call someone a name, you automatically lose the debate. And in high school debate, that's what they taught you. The minute you use an ad hominem, it's like, oh, you've lost the debate. Like you can't justify your argument. This is the thing. If pointing out facts makes you a racist, a transphobe, or whatever, that's what I'm saying. Give me my card.
The thing is, though, I think the D students rule the internet.
Yes.
And so these D students
right.
take this information, take racism, anti-Semitism as names that you're called, and they run with them.
But that's the thing.
Well,
it's okay.
just
And
like
they
Pride
believe
Month.
them, and they spread this information everywhere.
That's okay though. But here's the thing. I'm ready for the fight. Like the thing is that I want them to come, and I'm baiting them to come onto my turf. I want them to fight me over this.
Right.
Because I'm going to then do my verbal judo, and I'm going to display them for being ignorant, which is what we're doing right now.
Right.
Because here's the thing. If I hadn't said Jew religions,
Yeah.
that we wouldn't be able to have this discussion. Now
Right.
we're having a fascinating discussion because you know why?
Now
Because
I learned what Jew religions are today.
Right, but here's the thing. In order to get the truth will set people free, but first it will piss them off.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So in order for people to be able to accept the truth, you're going to have to sometimes a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Absolutely. But everyone and most of the show, we're polite and nice and sweet. And most of the show is very, non-confrontational and fun and happy. And I think that I have a pretty, charming personality. But every once in a while, you have to give people a little bit of a pinprick, and then every other once in a while, you have to give them the lance. And in using a term like Jew religions, I'm giving a pinprick so that the people who are ignorant will be inflamed, and then because they're angry and they're raging, they march their enemies onto my land, and then I have them, in the canyon to destroy them. So it's advanced verbal jujitsu that I'm using there. And, and I'm just glad that they noticed it. I laid that trap a long time ago, and now here they are finally picking it up.
I know. People like me would be like, that was a trap? I would have no idea.
You would have no clue. That's okay.
No.
But here's the thing. I'm just glad that now that they've done this, because all they're doing is elevating my public profile. They can't cancel me. Right, I don't work for a radio station. They got that wrong again. They did all their homework wrong on this one.
Unless they took away our house and your show and everything, I guess.
They can't,
like
because
Alex Jones.
I'm not lying, right? I'm not telling, I'm not saying something that's not true.
Yeah.
I'm just confusing certain people. But the thing is if I was working at the radio station right now, they would probably be able to cancel me. They would call the station. They would bomb my boss. They would come after me. That I've had things like that happen. Remember that guy who called my boss and then they forced me to apologize and all that stuff that went here.
Sure, yeah, those things happen if you work for the man.
Yeah, I'm cancel proof to a large extent right now, other than if the feds just decide to shut down my business.
Right, if there was some major something.
If they pull an Alex Jones on us, right? So, at the end of the day,
they're busy though. I saw them in the Pride Parade last weekend. So the FBI is walking in the Pride. They got other.
All right, we're safe for the month of June.
The month of June, they're going to be in the Pride Parade, so you're going to be just fine.
Right.
To be just fine.
Right. So, and why am I cancel proof? How am I cancel proof? Well, it's because of the 212 people who are watching us on rumble.com and their generosity. It's because of the, how many here now over on x.com, the 682 people who are watching us over on x.com, because of their generosity, because of the financial support that you offer the Wake Up America show, either through your Rumble Rant donations, your monthly contributions, your purchases at apforlibertyshop.com, or in just clicking that like button and following and tuning in to the Wake Up America show 5 days a week. When you support the Wake Up America show, not only are you supporting me, you're supporting my wife, Stephanie, our beautiful little baby, Hazel Rose, and you're helping me to put the fire under my brother's butt to give him his own show, Politically Homeless, which starring Justin Peterson, coming soon to a podcast near you, maybe, if we can talk him into it, right? Right, Justin?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be that podcast where I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So many people come onto their podcast and they go, I know what's going on and I'll tell you. And I'm going to be like, I don't really know. This guy says this gal says that. What am I supposed to do?
That's how I am too.
There's a term for that in economics. So it's like specialty, like where trade, do what you do best and trade for the rest, right? So there's a niche for that.
Can I also tell you, I think that there are more people like me in the country than not. There are more people in the country that are like, what's going on? There is so much noise over our heads. What's happening? Is there just a sane, calm, rational person who can just talk to people and be like, okay, this is going on. This is weird. And I'm not inflamed and crazy about stuff.
Yeah, what I hate about the internet of today is everybody has to be an expert. You always have to be like, oh, yes, I know this. These are the facts. Why can't you just be like, you know what? I don't know, you guys. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about these other viewpoints.
I also like the analogy that experts built the Titanic and amateurs built the Ark.
Yeah. That's right.
What a great line. If you busted out lines like that on your show and just said, I don't know what's going on for an hour, I think that your podcast would far surpass the Wake Up America show for sure. Justin, is there anything else you want to say or plug before we let you go today?
Can I talk about my Substack that comes out? I write about something. I write about politics, and so you know, if you like to read music, singing, and teaching, voice style, that's where I'm at. I'm also on voice lessons, and if you want to find me, you just go to petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for online lessons. And get out and walk. Everybody should be 10,000 steps a day. You know, get that fat burning going. Get yourself out there. It's going to be boosting your mood. It's going to make you feel good. You know, I just started walking with a rucksack and putting 2 pounds on my body every day to go out and walk. I like to go for a walk with a beer, but you do you, honey boo. Justin, we love you very much. We will see you again next Friday, and we are now at a countdown, Justin, just about 6 weeks from now. Little Hazel Rose will be coming your way. Another your first niece, actually. There you
right.
go.
Yeah. He's already an uncle. But
That's right. Already an uncle, but your first
girl
niece.
uncle.
Justin, love you very much. Have a good week. Bye.
Enjoy
your weekend. Give it up for JP.
Yeah. I think my Fitbit's broken. Even when we walked around Washington, D.C. for an entire day, I didn't even get to 10,000 steps. So there's something wrong.
Yeah. Boy, there's something about Justin towards the end of the show. His audio always starts to kind of mess up a little bit.
Really?
So, yeah, they were saying his audio is messing up.
He sounds great to me.
Yeah. So Justin he's amazing. And I hope that I can convince him to start his own show. We're going to definitely keep on him about that.
Yeah.
I've already come up with a graphic for it, so I think that'll be wonderful. Looks like we do have a commercial from our friends over at rumble.com. And
Saved by the bell.
It's actually coming from our good friend Donald Trump, who would like me to remind you that big tech is suppressing free speech everywhere, and it's clear their censorship campaign is going to get even worse. Without free speech, we don't have a free society. That's why you got to dump the big tech bosses and join the Truth Social movement now. At Truth Social, you can get all your news and opinions, set up or join groups based on your hobbies or interests, and make yourself heard on any issue without being squelched by big tech censors. Join the network. That is the leading platform for direct, unfiltered access to Donald Trump's social media posts. If you want instant access to all of Trump's announcements, plans, and reactions to the biggest issues of the day, Truth Social is the social media platform for you. Break free of big tech suppression, strike a blow against leftist cancel culture, and reclaim your rights on America's premier free speech social media platform. Join Truth Social today.
That's really convincing.
Thank you very much.
That sounded really cool. I'm curious now about Truth Social.
I'm getting the Kermode Bear says, hey, Austin is getting a cut of that $400 million in campaign donations Trump has raised since the conviction. Very funny, Kermode Bear. Hey, by the way, Kermode Bear, the bear trap is not for actual bears. It's only for bad guys and leftists. So we would never want to bait you into a bear trap, Kermode Bear. You're one of our special friends. So
that's right.
All right. So, Stephanie, what else have we got? Have we covered everything today?
Yes. Have you all seen my hustling and homemaking Tradwife Story Hour video this week? If not, you need to go check it out. Rumble.com/AP for Liberty or YouTube.com/AP for Liberty. I'm working on my next video that's coming out on Sunday for all of you Locals supporters. WakeUpAmericaShow.locals.com.
So I'm not kidding or exaggerating when I say that the AP for Liberty shop, the Grift shop, has a new product in the shop pretty much every single day.
Oh, yeah, we're always producing. You've been producing a lot lately.
Yeah, yesterday actually I published an Afuera MAGA Alliance shirt.
It looks really cool. I kept questioning you. I'm like, you did that?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
The MAGA Afuera, let's see, MAGA... Let me pull it up. There's the MAGA. Oh, yeah, here it is. The MAGA Afuera Alliance tee. There we go. So
sexy. I like those lions.
There we go. You can get it in a variety of colors. Get the MAGA Afuera Alliance shirt. We've got a ton of Javier Milei merch as well. If you're just a Javier Milei guy or just a Trump guy, if you're a libertarian for Trump, get yourself a sweet flag that we have up there. Bunch of exclusive items you can only get from the AP for Liberty Grift Shop. So go to apforlibertyshop.com. We'll see you guys next week. Stephanie got a big, beautiful baby in there. We're very happy. Thank you very much for all of the support.
Beautiful people.
There you go. And remember, every time you go to apforlibertyshop.com, you're helping to feed the next generation of Liberty Warriors like our sweet little baby Hazel. So
Thank you, everybody. I mean, really, we could not do all of this baby planning without everybody's help.
I know. We've gotten so much support from people for our gift registry, for the baby showers. Hope you guys have enjoyed your thank you cards.
John Rail sent us
Rail.
some gifts recently.
Yep.
I mean, we are just so thankful
I know.
for all of you for putting in so much effort to help us.
Thanks very much. Baby shower coming up this next week. We'll give you guys, maybe we'll take some pictures and post them for you. So make sure you're following us on x.com at AP for Liberty and Steffi P for Liberty. Baby P for Liberty incoming. We'll see you guys next week on the Wake Up America show. Steffi?
Be free.
Be free. We'll see you guys next week on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America show bonus content examines political cycles that have changed the world. Today we consider Tytler's cycle of civilizations. Tytler's cycle of civilizations is a theory that delves into the stages of societal evolution and decay. Though attributed to Alexander Fraser Tytler, the origins of this concept are actually unknown. Nevertheless, it provides a compelling framework for understanding societal change. The cycle begins in bondage, where societies are oppressed under authoritarian rule, limiting freedom and reflecting the will of the rulers rather than the people. Historical examples include the USSR and Nazi Germany, where citizens had minimal control over governance. Next, we see the emergence of spiritual faith, where societies embrace higher ideals, often through religious or spiritual awakenings. This sets the stage for great courage, where citizens rally against their oppressors, inspired by newfound beliefs. The American Revolution exemplifies this, with events like the Boston Tea Party sparking significant change. Following liberation, societies enter the stages of liberty and abundance, where freedom leads to prosperity and cultural flourishing. The United States post-World War II is a prime example, enjoying economic growth and geopolitical power. However, success breeds selfishness and apathy. As societies grow comfortable, the absence of common struggles leads to a focus on personal gain and a decline in societal cohesion. Corruption increases, and the public becomes disinterested in communal well-being, as described in Edward Gibbon's Observations of the Roman Empire. This disengagement sets the stage for dependence, where citizens increasingly rely on government for basic needs, setting a path back to bondage, as seen in modern welfare states. This cycle suggests a return to conditions where citizens are dependent on and subject to their leaders. Now, considering 21st century America, it appears we are in the stages of selfishness, apathy, and approaching dependence. Symptoms include political corruption, rising crime, and a growing reliance on government assistance programs. This analysis prompts us to reflect on our current societal stage and the potential to break this cycle. Understanding these patterns may help us steer toward a more stable and sustainable future. So, where do you think we stand in Tytler's cycle? Is this a valid way to view our society's progression? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's engage in a meaningful discussion about our civilization's path and potential future.